This Monero Matteo video is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Safely store, send, receive, and trade your Monero on Cake Wallet on Android and iOS. What's going on, guys? Monero Matteo reporting for duty. We've got the uniform on. We're ready to rock and roll. It looks like the fray is on, the financial fray that we've been commenting on here for a number of months now. I'm going to show you some tweets that we made a long time ago detailing how it's going to play out. And certainly it's playing out as we anticipated, which is why I don't tell you guys to worry. I don't tell you guys to get all jittery, which I'm jittery now. I haven't had a cigarette in 3 days. I know. It's, dust off the shoulders, no big deal. We'll see how I am a week from now. But, yes, the Bitcoin bros are starting to concede even more ground. Now, are they moving to Monero? That's not something I'm seeing as much as I would have otherwise expected as of yet, although I am seeing that. The big Bitcoin bros are still saying, hey, mix your coins, wash your coins, read my privacy guide. Who the heck wants to do that? But they're still toeing the line. They're still standing firm in their ground, even though I think they're going to start to really get people in trouble with this stuff. I'm telling you, and I'm starting to see some Monero bros get rather upset by this. And I'm starting to feel that frustration too, because it's like most of the people out there are not going to read these privacy guides. These truckers are not going to read these privacy guides. Okay, they're not going to use this stuff in a way which is going to make it so they're not tracked by the authorities if the authorities want to really look into their situation and track them. I mean, just look at these Bitfinex bros that we talked about like a week ago. They got caught and they're using every scheme that they could. And even though they were like computer programmers and, they're Russian hackers or whatever, and you would expect them to otherwise be intelligent in these spheres of capability, they got caught. You know why? Because even if you know all about privacy solutions to your Bitcoin issues, well, you may mess up at some point because you got to be pretty fastidious in how you approach this. You got to make sure you use the VPN. You got to make sure you mix your coins before sending. You make one mistake, that could open you up to a whole slew of problems. And Kevin Wad, he did a video on the dark net adopting Monero more, and how it is one marketplace got taken down, the whole marketplace, because of one transaction in Bitcoin that did not have good OPSEC. That one transaction just left a thread that was pulled and pulled and pulled by the authorities until it just, boom, took down the entire marketplace. So, the whole privacy solutions that people are putting forth for Bitcoin, I mean, why are we even dealing with this stuff when you just tell people to buy Monero? It's just so freaking obvious and no-braining. But people are part of this social movement. It's become more like a social club. It's not like a philosophical or truly revolutionary kind of thing. It's, we're the Bitcoin bros. We're going to do what we can to, stick our flag in the ground and protect it at all costs. It's like, or you could just pivot to another crypto, right? I'm reading all this stuff about game theory and how game theory is going to play into why Bitcoin is going to be adopted by all the countries all over the world, the governments and everything's like I think game theory has a stronger case in regards to Bitcoin bros shifting over to Monero land and adopting Monero. I think the game theoretical dynamics are stronger in regards to that than in regards to governments globally adopting Bitcoin. I mean, let me know what you think. That's what I think. And I'm going to make a whole video on that. And I've said I'm going to make videos on 1,000 things. I know. I just keep getting swamped by all this news. But I think that is more likely that with all this rollout of KYC, the stuff that we talked about in Russia, I'll link the video where everything is just completely KYC and custody oriented, which is the deal you're going to have to make if you actually want governments to adopt this stuff. Everyone's going to be KYC'd up the freaking wazoo. The game theoretical dynamics for Bitcoin bros say, you know what, the revolution's been totally co-opted. I'm just going to go into these private cryptos so I don't get totally just abducted by the technocratic police state, which is now completely documented everything. We're going to get into that in this video. That's going to be the pressure. That's what's going to be guiding people's sentimentalities, I think, assuming people wake up to Monero more. And all it takes, guys, is a couple of these guys like Odell or Peter McCormick or some of these other Bitcoin bros. Hey, maybe Jack Dorsey comes out and says, hey, Seth for Privacy's got some pretty cool, dope tweets out there about this crypto called Monero. Very interesting. And by the way, Jack Dorsey follows Seth for Privacy. He tweets all the time about Monero. So it's not like they don't know, guys. They know about this stuff. They're completely aware. An essential bank digital currency report, which I think was the United States one, the Federal Reserve one, they had talked about Monero in their footnotes. They had referenced like Monero websites and talking about privacy for their CBDC. So like, dude, everyone knows about Monero. This is not like under the curtain. It's just, for whatever reason, people don't want to give up their positions, whether it's the pride, whether it's the strength of the meme. I don't know what it is, but at some point, pressure valves are going to be released, and then like the flood into Monero is going to happen in earnest. I really believe this. So let's just go ahead and talk about what the developments are, because we talked about yesterday how Canada essentially is doing a crypto crackdown, and not just a crypto crackdown. They're cracking down the entire financial institution sphere in their country. If they suspect you of terrorist financing, then they can just shut down your bank account. They can freeze your accounts, and they can just kick you out of the financial system. Get excited for the CBDC because they're going to make that so easy to do. But check it out. This is the new development that came out today. And this is from Bitcoin bro Dennis Porter. He says, breaking. Canadian federal police call for FinTrack to block over 30 Bitcoin wallets from transacting with major financial institutions. Okay, so first off, let's just comment. Do you think these 30 plus Bitcoin bros who have these wallets knew anything about Bitcoin privacy and mixing your coins and using different addresses and all this different stuff? Maybe they didn't, in which case they're screwed because maybe those Bitcoins are now blacklisted. I mean, I'm curious what would happen if they tried to deposit those Bitcoins into like a centralized exchange, right? Because there are so many stories, we've gone through them like countless times here on the channel, of people who have gotten some, dirty Bitcoin off the peer-to-peer, back page exchanges like Bisq and, some other places. They don't know where it comes from, and they deposit onto exchange, and then their exchange accounts get shut down, or their loans get called back on BlockFi, etc. So who knows if these are blacklisted? Who knows if they try to like ditch them through some peer-to-peer exchange? We do know how hard it was for the Bitfinex hackers to offload their Bitcoin because it was being tracked and traced so extensively. So these people could find themselves in some trouble, right? And who knows how linked these wallets are with their identities. I mean, that's still yet to be seen. Who knows if they're going to have issues with that? We've talked about Fuentes and how he was caught up in a January 6th event because a French computer programmer had sent him $500,000 in Bitcoin. As far as anyone's concerned, that's completely unrelated to what happened on January 6th, but still they looked at that transaction, they're like, that's a lot of money. It's happening on Bitcoin. Let's just have this FUD be tied into the other things that he did to make the situation look that much worse. A foreign actor using Bitcoin, some cryptocurrency that we've seen other hackers use, well, that's a perfect story, right? And so they can definitely tie that in to maybe make a worse case against you in the optical realm. You know what I mean? And so that's something to consider as well. But he is now again going to the elected officials. This is the guy we talked about yesterday who was talking about the Keep Your Coins Act, which interestingly, acronymically, is the KYC Act, which is the act they're trying to push now in Congress in order to, I guess, stop in the United States what they just recently did in Canada. But he says, if you believe our elected officials should condemn the move by the Canadian federal government to ban Bitcoin and digital asset transactions to the Freedom Convoy, send a letter to your elected officials now. So, yeah, I mean, we're still trying to pander to politicians in order to make our coin count. I mean, come on. As we said yesterday, the whole solution that we think is more ideal is to just make it so they don't know you have the coins to begin with. And we'll get to that here in a little bit, and we'll talk about why that's important. But moving on, Untraceable, he says a total of 34 cryptocurrency wallets allegedly associated with the protests have been blocked, and this excludes Monero. Now, there's one Monero address on here, but as far as anyone is concerned, it's an exchange address. It's an address that's based on an exchange, and they can, as far as I'm concerned, identify those. But I don't even think you could stop those from transacting, because once it leaves, and it's on the blockchain. It can't be tracked or traced. It's being shuffled around the rings. You know what I mean? And so that isn't even a problem. But that person could just take that Monero off the exchange to his own Monero wallet, and he'd be good to go. So there's no censoring this stuff. There's no blacklisting this stuff. If anything, it's FUD. And the people who put that Monero address onto, this, what is it? Oh, by the way, thank you, Zaptosis, for getting the Monero address on there. That was a huge win by the Monero Bro Battalion. Never forget that. We got to take that win and run with it. We really, I think, just stuck a spear into the heart of this entire surveillance state when we introduced Monero as a way to be a vehicle to support this trucker protest. I think that was huge. Was it not huge? Now, I didn't say people should donate to this stuff, but, just so I don't get arrested or whatever. But, who knows where this goes. But that was a huge win. That was a huge win on the behalf of Zaptosis and the Monero Bro Battalion. So, yeah, we probably saved some lives in regards to this, seeing where this is all going. Because just on the first day after they announced these emergency measures, they have 30 wallets here that they're looking after, right? And so think about it. If you had donated Bitcoin to this cause, dude, you're sweating. And I've seen so many tweets of people who are like, did I mix my coins? Am I now going to be considered a terrorista because I used KYC coins to donate to this movement? Even people who have used Lightning Network, they're like, oh man, how can someone tell me how private Lightning Network really is? I actually don't know. Like, people just assume this stuff. They don't do the research. And because Monero is used so frequently on the dark webs now, and just about people risk their lives every day using Monero to do pretty nefarious activities on the internet. Like, you can trust this stuff. And, if you look into it for 5 seconds, you realize, because they have like a bounty out for this stuff to crack it and they haven't paid it out yet, yeah, it's still good to go. So the Monero bros are not sweating right now. The only people who are sweating are the Bitcoin bros. And as we talked about yesterday, Monero is an anxiety alleviating tool. And there is $100 billion a year industry which exists in many different avenues of the economy to alleviate people's anxieties. And look, why would you not just get a little bit of your toe dipped into the Monero pool to alleviate that anxiety? Why would you not just get a little bit of a share of it? I mean, almost everybody that I know has a little bit of Monero. I mean, as the Bitcoin Cash Bro said, he's like, yeah, like it seems everybody has Monero as their second favorite cryptocurrency. Well, we're in Monero first, but like that's definitely something that more people are going to be doing now, because it's like, okay, if I ever want to actually do something privately, you know what? I'm going to use Monero. I'm not going to mess with Bitcoin, because this is actually kind of worrying, right? And more people, I think, are going to wake up to the implications of that. But let's move on. Douglas Tuman, he says, using Bitcoin to fund the truckers will ironically go down as the moment the world realizes how useless it is as digital cash. Yeah, they stopped the whole digital cash thing a while ago. Now it's digital gold, guys. And I still have to make a video on that. Forgive me for not coming out with that. I'm so busy. Stop lying to yourself and to people falsely depending on it. Turn off the laser eyes and responsibly encourage dissidents and donors to use Monero. Yeah, and I think that with everything going on, we're starting to rub up against like ethical boundaries here. Like, if you are advocating for political dissidents who could actually find themselves in some serious hot water if they're ousted for supporting the political dissidents or are part of the movements to begin with, if you're encouraging public blockchain cryptos, which are very complicated for the average person to understand how to use privately, then but you're saying it could be used private. Like, come on, dude. Like, this is not, in my opinion, very ethical. If you're saying that, oh, this is what Bitcoin is for, it's so private, we could support whoever, which is going up against the power structure, and do it safely and securely. And but it's not. That's not great, is it? There might be a problem there, especially if you know about Monero, but you just don't want to give Monero that credit. I think there's an issue with that. Let me know what you guys think. Moving on, this is a tweet that we made 7 months ago. Okay, and I said back when they came out with this, do you guys remember this? Just let's refresh our memory. This was a shocker to me, a genuine shocker. Nothing shocks me anymore, but this was a shocker to me back in the day. NBC News came out with this, statement or infographic from the Department of Homeland Security that says potential terror threats, opposition to CUFID measures, claims of election fraud, and 9/11 anniversary and religious holidays. These are potential terror threats, they said. So I said, back in the day, the governments have a history of blacklisting Bitcoin and Litecoin addresses and other addresses associated with terrorist activity. If that definition expands enough, there will be a flood out of surveillance coins into the Freedom Coins, Monero, Pirate Chain, etc. The Freedom Coin Covenant, which is still strong and doing really great. But yeah, I mean, that's so true. That's so freaking true. And it's going to happen. I'm telling you, the flood is coming. The flood is coming. It's going to be antediluvian, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be antediluvian. Trade Ogre is going to be like taking over, bro. But let's read what Justin German guys say. He's responding to something Odell had said. And just kind of gauge this, right? I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. He says, tweets saying Bitcoin cannot be stopped get massive engagement, but the sad reality is that many individuals are going to get burned due to not understanding the nuances of using Bitcoin privately. So at least he's being honest about this. But a lot of Bitcoin bros are not being honest about this. They're saying Bitcoin is sufficiently private. They're saying Bitcoin is perfectly capable of taking on the 1984 panopticonical, technocratic surveillance state. I don't think so. I don't think you do either if you watch this channel. But he's saying that, yeah, a lot of innocent people are going to get burned because either they've been misled into thinking that Bitcoin is private, or maybe they've been misled into thinking they're using Bitcoin privately, but they're not. Or they just make a mistake or something like this, right? And so Justin German guy, he calls him out on this. He says, without real Bitcoin privacy changes, bare minimum you need to hide the amount on the layer 1, no exceptions, and without specifically telling people to use Monero, which is obvious for the masses against surveillance, this comment does jack all, Matt. Privacy over Bitcoin. I think that's a good slogan to go by. What do you guys think? Privacy over Bitcoin. Right. I think that's pretty spot on, Justin German guy. He says, if Bitcoin doesn't hide the amount of layer 1, the privacy dream for all is a lost cause, period. We've known this for years. Wake the hell up, people. Stop apologizing for the most mass surveilled financial system ever made. Yeah, and it's going to get worse, guys. Just stick with me. You're going to just be totally shocked by what comes later in this video. He says lack of education isn't the problem. Education is only an emergency backup option. Nobody should have to sit through a seminar to prevent their Bitcoin from being trivially traced by their grandma. The entire design is totally screwed, and people need to realize that. Yeah, hit a home run, brother. Yeah, that's a problem. But here's Odell back saying, there are methods to raise Bitcoin for causes and projects without reusing a single fixed address that can be easily tracked and blacklisted. This helps to mitigate privacy risk for both the senders and the receiver. Dude, why not just say use Monero, dude? In my personal life, I have issues with people who overcomplicate things. I'm a simple guy. Just keep it simple for me. Like, reusing single fixed addresses, dude, you just tuned out like 100 million people reading that comment. If you want mass adoption, most people who just read that are like, what? But if you just say, hey, just use Monero, that can't be traced or blacklisted. Cool, easy. Very simple dots to connect there. So I said, I'm a simple man, so are millions of other people. I'm not interested in digging into how to be private with your Bitcoin, guys. Just give me something that's plug and play private. If it's not base layer private, then I'm just not dealing with it. Correct. Like, do you guys feel the same way? Let me know if you guys feel the same way. Keep it short and simple. We call that KISS. Or what is it? Keep it simple, stupid. And I think one of you, I think it was you, Ronan, you had said, you were quoting Leonardo da Vinci, and he had said that, yeah, simplicity is the most ultimate of sophistications, right? And if it's not easy to use and to accomplish the functions that you want to accomplish, then what's the point of it, right? And as Albert Einstein said, I'll give you a quote, Ronan, right back at you. If you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, then you probably don't totally understand it. And with this stuff, maybe you don't even need to, maybe you can't even simplify it enough to explain to a 5-year-old. Maybe you can't. Maybe it's just that complicated. Maybe it's not, but maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I've just found a better solution. So looking into this extra superfluous stuff is just not even worth it. But yeah, this is a funny meme. Bitcoin privacy. It's just like the inside of a Star Trek spaceship. It just looks really complicated. Buttons everywhere, flicker switches. Yeah, it's just use Monero. Just keep it simple. Set for privacy. And this is just so freaking interesting here. But we've warned about this as well. How far through this are we? 20 minutes, cool. The sad state of Bitcoin privacy. Even the courts understand how poor privacy is on chain and use this poor privacy to justify stripping users of their rights in court. It should never have been like this. Just use Monero, folks. That's simple. Again, guys, keep it simple. What is he referring to here? Well, this dude says, Chris Hoofnagel, judge approved the warrant noting the public nature of the blockchain ledger meant that those using it had no constitutional right to privacy. Relying on cluster analysis to guide searches, he wrote, was akin to relying on a confidential source providing tips to investigators. So basically what this means, guys, is anything you do on a public blockchain can and will be used against you in a court of law. Period. The end. Okay? And by the way, there's no statute of limitations for some of this stuff. You know why? Because the blockchain is there forever. And it's going to be like looking back to the Big Bang and using all the data we have now and the ever-developing sophistication of our data analytical tools to go back in time to research how it all happened, who had which wallets, and where the money went. And by the way, if you haven't been paying your taxes, and we haven't talked about taxes here in a little bit, I'm a tax accountant, I feel like I should, but if you haven't been paying your taxes, there's no statute of limitation for fraud. And how are they going to be able to determine if they see your transactions on a blockchain, which haven't been accounted for in your tax returns? How are they going to be able to determine whether or not you didn't pay that because it was fraud or whether it's because, you just weren't paying attention, you didn't know the law or whatever? And if they have an angst or some kind of vendetta against the crypto bros, then they could just by default say it was fraud. Why not? Who knows how authoritarian this could get? In which case, you're going to get tied up with the IRS. Have fun with that. So, I'm not saying if you use Monero, this solves everything. If you use Monero, you should pay your taxes. That's what I always say. But just something to think about, right? It's all there, and they could use all of it against you. The precedent is set. So moving on. And to all the Bitcoin bros who are looking at the situation, they're like, yeah, you know what? They can trace my crypto. They can blacklist my crypto. But you know what? They can never take my crypto because it's in my wallet and I've got my seed phrase. Nam has a good point here. She says, whoever it may concern, tracing crypto precedes seizure. FYI. Yeah. I don't know why this is a hard concept to convey to the Bitcoin bros, but they don't have to take your crypto in order to take you. All they need to do is know that you have in the first place, which is, again, why we're so, it's so important to hammer that if you have stealth addresses, which hide how much crypto you have in the first place, you avoid the whole regulatory KYC thing. You avoid the whole, oh, well, they can't take my crypto even though they know I have it. Look, if they know you have it, 90% of the battle is already lost for you. I hope you understand that. Dude, imagine being a Soviet Russia, right? Some NKVD bro comes up to your door. He's like, oh, give me a Bitcoin. Are you going to say to him, no, I'm good, bro. I have a seed phrase. It's in English. No, dude, he's just going to shoot you, or he's just going to take you to a gulag. See ya. Enjoy your Bitcoin and hey, maybe you could set up a parallel economy in the Gulagistan. I don't know, right? But yeah, I mean, it doesn't solve all your problems. So that's something to note. And here's another Bitcoin bro. And Coinbro has said some good things about Monero. He's released a couple good videos on it, but he says, know this: the money in your bank account is one state of emergency, quote unquote, away from being the government's money. Buy Bitcoin. So, right. Why, dude? How is it possible that people aren't saying buy Monero in the face of all this? I know they're invested in this stuff, and they have, sunk costs and whatever, reputational investment as well. But Nam is back on the scene. She says, come on, guy, you know better than that. And this is a tweet from Howard Chu, which I hadn't seen before, which I thought was interesting. I'm gonna have to look into this. But check it out. Chu, Hachu. I got to come up with a name for you. Analysis of Bitcoin illicit finance by Michael Morell, former CIA analyst. He says, and this is what Nam tweeted in response to the whole buy Bitcoin thing from the Coin Bureau, bro. It is easier for law enforcement to trace illicit activity using Bitcoin than it is to trace cross-border illegal activity using traditional banking transactions, and far easier than cash transactions. Read that again. It's right there for everyone to see. That's from a CIA bro. And with everything we talked about here on this channel and looking at Seth for Privacy's Fungibility Graveyard, which is another great resource, it's really elucidating. And it says a lot about, in my opinion, guys like this who continue to shill surveillance coins in the face of a panopticonical technocratic crackdown, right? I mean, my question at this point is, how many Bitcoin bros have to be arrested for the pivot to be made? Like, there's going to have to be like some human sacrifice element to this. Apparently, some Bitcoin bros are going to have to be sacrificed to the altar of adoption attendees in order for this to work out. You know what I mean? Maybe I didn't say that right. They're going to have to be sacrificed. Yeah, I think I said that right. Like, Bitcoin bros are going to have to be sacrificed in order for people to wake up here. Like, there's going to have to be real pain inflicted. So that's not something we want to see. We want to be proactive, but, if we're going to have to be reactive, I guess that's what's going to have to happen. But we see smart people getting into the space. We see hedge fund founders already picking up Monero, saying that Monero is what everyone thinks Bitcoin is. And, people are catching on. Like, believe me, this is not something which we're waiting to start. It's already started. It's just the rate of change, which is what we're looking out for. And let's look at some of the reactions from the Bitcoin bros. Eric Kaysen says, owning Bitcoin will make you a terrorista before the next election. So they're sweating, dude. The fear gauge, the fear gauge, like, it shows how greedy the investors are versus how frightful the investors are. The greed, which is at like freaking 100, like a month ago, before the whatever made it go a leg down. I think it was, the Omicron thing. I forgot what it was that triggered it. But now it's like 100% fear. Now they're like conceding, not to the fact that it's just not even fungible, which we've seen Bitcoin maxis admit to in some of our most recent videos. They literally say Bitcoin isn't money. If you say Bitcoin is not fungible, you say Bitcoin isn't money, period, the end. I mean, it's that simple. But they're saying now that, yeah, we're going to be terroristas. I'm still a maximalist, but I'm going to be a terrorista maximalist. So, some of these guys are just going to go to the grave with their Bitcoin. That seems to be what is happening here. He says governments will use that label as an opportunity to 6102 exchanges. I'm not sure what 6102 means. Black bag, prominent Bitcoiners. Well, black bag, prominent Bitcoiners. That's interesting. Guys, just to let you know, if it ever gets to the point where Monero starts to really take off and the channel starts to really take off, like, I have no interest in being a prominent Monero bro. Zero interest. Because at some point, I'm going to get black bag too. Like, me doing this is not very private. And if I value the fruits of privacy that I think Monero is going to give me, then there's no reason for me to be on the forefront, especially if like the adoption really starts to pick up. Like, what reason is there for me to even be out here? I don't know, but I have no interest in being black bagged. Thank you very much. I'd rather just take my Monero attendees and go to, some place which you are not going to know about, and seize your home if you don't give them your coin. So, dude, exactly, right? If they know you've got the Bitcoin, they can black bag you, they can take it off the exchanges and conscript it, and they can seize your other assets, which maybe you don't have a seed phrase home, like your home. Like, hello. And they could garnish your wages, and they could do many other things, right? It's not like your entire net worth is in your Bitcoin wallet. You guys understand this, right? So if they know you have the Bitcoin and you say, I'm not going to give you the Bitcoin, they're going to say, okay, cool. We're just going to take something else then. Is this that complicated? Surely it's not. I hope your coins are off exchange in a multi-sig. Or just in a Monero wallet, In a Cake wallet. We love Cake wallet. Sponsor the channel. So, yeah, just anything to not say Monero. And, what's interesting is that I used to see a lot of Bitcoin bros talk about Monero quite frequently. But I think as the use case for Monero grows, in kind of like an ironic and paradoxical twist, they're going to talk less about it, because I think there would be a real concern on the behalf of the Bitcoin bros that people would actually start to cash out their Bitcoin from Monero, and a big change would actually happen from there. And I bet you anything that a lot of these Bitcoin bros are actually secretly getting into Monero. They just don't want to say anything. Because if they were to say something, again, that could spark a fire, right? It could spark a fire in a crypto movie theater, and people would run for the exits in Monero. This guy says, another Bitcoin maximalist bro, take your fiat money out of your bank now. And we're going to get to that. It looks like bank runs are happening in Canada from some data statistics. I don't want to say that conclusively yet, but there are some interesting things going on. He says, buy sats with that cash. Take your previously bought sats out of your custodian exchange now. And by the way, you take your Monero out of the exchanges as well. That's just no-brainer. I hope that all of you have your Monero off the exchanges. We've talked about the reasons why you want to do that. One, so that you have ownership of your Monero, but we've talked about the potential for price manipulation going on with these exchanges. Because Monero is a private crypto, we don't know how much these exchanges have, and if you have your Monero on an exchange, they can just fractional reserve that out, paper Monero style. And, these people that they fractional reserve it out to, who they loan it to, can just short it. And there could be a lot more shorting of the Monero, which even exists on the exchange. And, if all of us pull it out at once, maybe we could start a little squeeze type thing, but that's for another time. Check out the video. It's like an honest conversation about price manipulation. We also did a great talk with Kevin Watt about this. It's a really deep subject, actually, interestingly enough. But he says, mix those dirty KYC stats. And remember, not even a week ago, there was a Bitcoin guy who had his loan with BlockFi canceled because the Bitcoin that he had put up as collateral he got off BISC, and the person who had sold him that Bitcoin previously used that Bitcoin in a mixer, this Wasabi wallet mixer. And so he's telling you, clean up the dirty Satoshis by using this mixer, which, as far as anyone's concerned now, makes everything come out of that mixer dirty, because they can see that you're using a mixer in the first place. This is the problem with any blockchain, which is not by default private. Because, and this is one of the reasons the Bitcoin Cash bro that we talked about in that video about a week ago, that's one of the reasons he went from Bitcoin Cash to Monero, because he sees how there's going to be a crackdown on mixers. I mean, there already is to a certain extent by just blacklisting and tainting them. But if they know you're using a mixer, which to them is getting easier and easier by the day, and it's been rather easy for a while now, we've been talking about it since pretty much the start of the channel, they're going to be able to just look at all those coins coming out from there and say, hey, those are all now dirty. You can't deposit them on an exchange. Maybe you could go on like a peer-to-peer exchange and offload them, but guess what? You're just offloading that junk to somebody else. And then it becomes like a hot potato situation. It's just like, crap, I need to get rid of this to the next guy, to the next sucker, to the next dupe who picks this stuff up and can't do anything with it, right? And so it's just like kicked out of the system basically at that point. So moving on, recommending solutions that don't work. What's going to happen, guys? Like, there's this saying about America. The Americans will exhaust every option until the best one is left. And that's what the Bitcoin bros are going to do. They're going to exhaust every terrible option until the best option is left, which is Monero. Michael, he says, this is what I've been trying to drum into people's minds. They have no clue how dark things can get and how fast. Bitcoin is a direct threat to the establishment power. Maybe. That's not conclusive to me. You better be okay with being an outlaw and labeled a terrorista, because that's where they're going to take it. So, dude, imagine this. Imagine being a Bitcoin bro and having exposure to a transparent blockchain, which the governments of the world are analyzing 24/7, and then saying, yeah, I'm totally okay with being a terrorist. Come on, dude. It's a little funny. It's a little funny, right? I don't even know what to say. And talking about the Canadian bank run, this is something interesting that's happening, just as an aside. This guy asked, James Melville, he asked, what the hell is happening to Canada's banks right now? Look at this. Scotiabank outages reported in the last 24 hours, going nuclear. RBC going nuclear. BMO going nuclear. TD, Canada Trust, just spiking. Now, I don't know if that's because they're putting in new protocols to their computer system to update the regulations or something like this, or they're just trying to sort of prevent people from cashing their money out. Maybe they're trying to prevent a bank run. Who knows? Who knows? I tried to take out cash today, and they said they needed to order in physical cash. Would take 3 days. Whoa, bro. That's what this Hong Kong bond brother just said. That's pretty interesting. So if there is a bank run coming, that's going to be pretty wild. This has a lot of likes, so I'm going to say it. Jabba, James ABB999, whatever. Bank run is starting. If you threaten to take people's money, a lot of them get worried and take their money out. Banks don't like to see a lot of money going out, so they go down to stop the run. Only about 2% of the money is paper coins. The rest is just digits on a screen. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. And this guy asked, do you think people will keep their money in institutions that can now easily freeze it from them? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. So that's pretty interesting. That's interesting stuff going on. And in response to my ceaseless Monero tweets that I've made over the last day or so, I've received a consistent reply of somebody saying, well, you can't audit the supply. Why would I want, you say a private crypto fixes all these problems. And I think I said that in regards to the Keep Your Coins Act. And I said, well, why do you want people to know how many coins you have in the first place? And then he said, well, it's because you can audit the supply of Bitcoin. You can audit the supply of transparent blockchains. Okay. The problem with that, brother, is that they can also audit the supply of the Bitcoins in your wallet. That's my first reply. And then second, it's not hard to verify the supply of Monero. There are easy calculations you could do, easy commands that you could put into the command line. I haven't done it. I'm not a tech bro. But Fluffy Pony lays it out here. This is how you could do it. So it's pretty easy. We've talked with Arctic Mind about this too. It's pretty easy to do some quick math to see how much Monero is out there. And then just to finish this up, talking about the whole Monero hash rate thing, because some people were concerned about this. Was I concerned? No. Do I ever seem concerned about anything going on with Monero? Not really. Because it's not just the crypto, it's the community. I'm pretty bullish on the community as well, and this is why. Just check this out. This is so freaking awesome. This is from the Monero Observer, a great publication I like to read. Mine XMR, which is like the main pool, which got over 50% recently. Everybody was freaking out about 51% attack. Mine XMR hash rate drops from 50% to 38% after Monero community decentralization efforts. So look at it. It just gets up to 51, then it pukes down to lower than it's been in about a week. And literally like after the puke, I started to see Cointelegraph articles come out and say, the Monero bros are worried about a 51% attack. And unfortunately, we have FUD about this being spread at the exact time that we need people to wake up to Monero and just how important this stuff is. A little bit of an unfortunate circumstance. Some people think it's purposeful. Some people actually think that this happened on purpose. This huge run-up right here from the 13th, where it went from, I don't know, what was it, 40% of the mining pool or of the total hash rate to 50. I mean, it escalated rather quickly. Let's look at the month. Oh, heck, it's not the actual chart. But some people think it was an attack, like a direct attack on Monero, so that people didn't look to Monero as a solution to all this surveillance crackdown issues. So, yeah, there was an initiative to decentralize the mining pool. And check this out. This is really interesting. Zinba, MineXMAR's admin, is planning to cooperate by bumping the pool fee from 1% to 1.1%, an increase of 10%, starting April 1st, 2022. So the admins of this pool are increasing the fees to use it, disincentivizing people from using that pool. Now, why would they do that? Well, presumably because if there is a 51% attack, or if there's something systemic, which happens with Monero, which is a problem, well, that's going to cause a lot of liquidity to leave their pool, right? And so they have an incentive to sabotage their own pool to a certain degree in order to save it, if that makes sense. So they did. And so they decentralized it, as well as the efforts of many other people. And now there's a lot of encouraging of the use of the P2P pool. This is much more decentralized, and you can't, as far as I understand, I'm not a miner person, but if you have over 50% of the miners in the P2P pool, I don't even think you can 51% attack it then, because it's peer-to-peer. But I need to look into that. I know nothing about mining. I've never mined a crypto in my life. So if you guys know a little bit about mining, I'd like to hear more about this. If somebody's making vids on this, I'm interested in watching them. But let's see. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Let's see here. Why are my notifications up? I don't care about those. Nope, nothing's going on. I think that's it, bros. That's what I wanted to end on. So, yeah, just more developments. Bro, it's like, do I even need to make videos anymore? It's just so freaking obvious. But, you know, it's just obvious to us. I know that we're kind of in this frame of mind, which is just like, man, do we need to talk about the same thing every day? Do we need to continue to go over the news and just build a hyper mega super bullish case for Monero? That's a good question to ask. But one of the reasons why I constantly refer to videos that we've made recently, or I continue to talk about the same thing over and over again, is because we have continually new people coming to the channel. And you got to keep it fresh. You got to keep it new in order for people to stay interested, in order for newcomers to be feeling like they're a part of something. And so, yes, it's a begrudging task. A lot of you seem to continue to come back to listen to this stuff. As for me, I can get a little bored talking about this. And, you know, especially after working 8-9 hours a day on freaking taxes, which just makes you want to, you know, swallow barrels. It's like, do I really want to spend an hour talking about, you know, the super hyper mega bullish case for Monero again? But this is all for the greater good. We hope that Monero is used for good to kind of circumvent this terrible, evil, satanic police state which is cropping up. We're heading into like an anti-human, android-laden, technocratic world, man, and it's wild. Whatever we can do to push back against this, we should. We should. It should be an imperative. I'm not saying it's a moral imperative. It really depends on our spirit and the state of our consciousness when it comes to using any technology. But frankly, I think the alternative is so much worse. Like CBDCs in the hands of these guys, No, thank you. I'd rather, and say they shut off the grid, like they just fire freaking EMP like 4th of July into the atmosphere. Cool. Get some gold, get some silver. There are backups to that as well. Get some food, especially. Like, you don't know where the stuff's going to go, dude. As we talked about in the last video, like, the friction's going to grow between people who want freedom and the people who are trying to take it away. And every time that the people who want freedom try to get it back, and they fail without totally doing an overhaul, the people who are trying to take it away are just going to use that as an excuse to continue their program of taking more freedoms away. Oh, it's an excuse. They're out of control. We need to prevent this from happening again. And so the barriers just get built higher and higher and higher until just the levee breaks and you get a huge chaotic, catastrophizing situation. But we don't want that to happen. We just have people opt out. I mean, that's the best way to fight this stuff, is just to go Operation Exodus and just leave the system. You don't got to fight the state in the political courts. You don't got to do any of that stuff, dude. You can just build your own parallel economy. You can just transact with your fellow farmer across the road with Monero and have nobody know about it. You can, just buy stuff off the internet from people who use Monero, like eMoney merch. Check out the link below. Get a discounted t-shirt. That's all you got to do, man. I mean, we don't got to be violent. We don't got to engage in politics. Guys, just use Monero. Build the parallel economy. That's all you got to do. And believe in God, too. I think Christ in crypto is going to be a rallying cry for true freedom. And I had somebody, well, we won't go into that. But, yeah, we got to increase our spirits. We got to increase our awareness. And we got to continue to fight the crypto wars. The Monero Battalion will rise. So that's it. Monero Matteo. A little bit of a longer one for you guys. Hope that you enjoy it. Check out the donation address below if you want to support the channel. Thank you to the Patreons, Josh, Ken, Lutz, and Ronan, my brothers in arms. Thank you, Zaptosis, for being an awesome commander in the Monero Battalion, just for being awesome. What's up? And everyone else out there, what's up? You're awesome. Check out the social media links, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We'll see you guys next time. Monero Matteo. We'll be back. God bless.